Hey guys, first regardsman here. I'll be talking about the new Phobos helmet event with my friend Jeficus, just the overall state of cosmetics in Space Marine 2. Now, we've had previous cosmetic events like the Mark 8 Errant helmet. You can also now buy all the Twitch drops in the Accolade store, and I'm kind of curious to see the community opinion on this and just talk with about my general thoughts on this in general with Jeficus here. So, Jeficus, how do you feel about FOMO helmets in general? How do you feel about cosmetic rewards in Space Marine 2 that are outside the main game? Things like the Chapter Master Pauldron, the Sergeant Matoris drops, and stuff like that from the Twitch campaigns. What are your overall thoughts on those?
I think for the most part they are okay, especially when they're attached to a community event specifically. But I have a bad relationship with FOMO in general because I was previously in the military and I know what it's like to be deployed while one of these events is happening and just having no access at all to access any of the stuff that otherwise I would have had access to feels extremely bad. But overall, if everything is unlockable in game with like requisition points, with accolades, whatever, I don't mind if these community events and Twitch drops are a way for you to fast track unlocking those things or to get them for free.
Right.
But if there is a path available in the game to unlock them, it's okay. If that doesn't exist, it's not okay at
Now,
all.
as far as the Twitch drop campaigns go, now previously we've had multiple Twitch drops for like the beginning of the game. We had the Porphyr shield skins, which I think look like garbage. But then the ones that people really wanted were things like the Mark 8 Aaron helmet, they do Aquila chest plate and stuff like that. Now, the Sergeant Matoris drop was probably the secret level drop they did, was probably the most popular one besides like the Mark 8 Aaron helmet, which I think was like also, it was not only a reward in game, I believe they did an initial Twitch drop, and they also had an in-game event, and they also added it to the Accolade store recently. They have made a pretty great effort to actually put these in the store. Now, the Accolade store may have these items, but they don't actually cost accolades, which is pretty good. I think it's having it be a requisition-based thing for people to actually purchase. And you can also use your armory data to buy requisition points. Makes it very easy for players to
Mm-hmm.
obtain. This is a significantly better system than we had previously. However, the recent Twitch drop campaign they did for the Aquila chest plate and stuff like that, those items are still not in the store. It's gonna be like months, presumably until like patch 11 until they get moved in, which is like kind of shitty. I thought it's a little goofy. I'm not a big fan of having rewards outside of the game for cosmetics. You know, when you look at like way back when in Halo 3, you had the recon helmet, right? And everybody wanted recon helmet,
Yes. Yep.
and you were unable to obtain it until you bought like Halo 3 ODST, and that didn't feel super good, even when like Halo 3 ODST was basically just Halo 3 spin-off, like the game with like the full multiplayer on a separate disc. And in the case of Space Marine 2, you're just sitting there going on like a pros account. I have people ask me all the time like, what the hell is a pros account? And to be honest, most people have no clue, and they're like all these community events they talk about, these community announcements they make, these aren't even like super available to players on console to even read. Like a lot of players aren't even in the Discord. They have no way to like know this outside the Focus Entertainment
That's right.
forums.
Yeah.
It's not very well presented to players. I had players come into my stream chat and my YouTube comment section to ask like, hey, what even is this event? Because they skipped the one message they had and they have no idea outside of that. So it's kind of a, I don't know if that's a really great way to like represent it to players, because the new Phobos helmet looks pretty cool. But having like this Mulith Vortex Beast event come out, and some players, I believe, don't know that you actually have to finish like a single Mulith Vortex fight to actually be enabled for the drop. They might just give it to everybody, but we'll see. So I'm curious to see what you think about all of that as well.
I think a lot of players also don't understand that. I believe this is only going to be for the Vanguard and the Sniper, right? Like this is
Yes.
not going to be available on the other classes.
Part of that is just
And
because
so
Phobos is tied to Vanguard and Sniper.
exactly, yeah. But a lot of people will see this and be like, oh, like I can't wait to use this on my tactical or whatever. And it's like, oh well, actually you can't. But for the most part, like I said, I think that having things available pretty much accessible for early access, I mean, that's okay. But in a cosmetic driven game like Space Marine 2, like I want to be able to earn everything as soon as I can. If I see another player with an item and I'm like, oh, that's a really cool item, how do I get it? I don't want to be told, oh, you got to wait 2 months. You got to wait until patch 11
Very
for
true.
them to add this item into the game so that you could finally unlock it. Like, no, dude, like cosmetics drive gameplay. And when I have things to look forward to grinding, I'm going to want to log in and play the game more. And I think that a lot of people in the community have that exact same mindset as me. Nobody wants to really be given all the cosmetics right away. And I think that for most players in Space Marine 2, people don't want to buy cosmetics by any means outside of what is available in the annual seasonal passes. Nobody wants a microtransaction
Definitely.
store. So having that stuff available in the game right away is always going to be the best policy. And you brought up that Halo example. I think that's literally the best example. I think that having these pieces of gear, pieces of cosmetics be available through requisition points, be available through accolades, or be available through ordeals, which Saber seems to have forgotten about because other than the update to Siege ordeals, we haven't really seen more cosmetics added to the ordeals system.
That's very
Like,
true. They also put
yeah,
it
like
on like an auto bolt rifle skin is one of them, and that's like the worst gun in the game, or like second.
I know,
It's
right?
down the
That's
bottom. It's crazy. Yeah,
what an interesting decision.
it's definitely
but
pretty strange.
but yeah, like I just want to be able to earn everything, and I want to earn through different avenues of gameplay. It creates variety for me to be like, okay, so kill 20 Tyranids and one Melta Bomb. That's an ordeal. That's an achievement, and you get these gloves or whatever. I think that's pretty cool. I think there's a lot of merit in that. It shakes up gameplay a little bit. It inspires you to play differently and to do different things, or just to challenge yourself.
That is true, and I
I
think
want to see
that
more stuff like that.
in Warhammer 40k in general, I've talked about this before, that drip and fashion customization, it is fundamental to not only this game, it is fundamental to 40k as a whole, to the tabletop, to pretty much every game ever. What people want to see in a game like Space Marine is like their favorite chapter, go and use the iconic weapon and blast through the guy and make their coolest types of armor. Things like, Terminator armor is like super popular. Obviously, we don't have Terminators in this game, but a big problem I have is like the lack of like proper. I'm glad you brought up the ordeal system, because we don't really have a proper penance system in this game. That's not like a few cosmetics. I think an easy thing they could do in this game is give like titles to people. Like you could be the chapter captain if you get like 500,000 kills or something crazy like that. And like you have these achievements and these ordeals have more than just a pure armor cosmetic. If you have like these titles, these things to like really showcase what you've done in the game, I feel like that feels a lot better for players than like a Twitch drop reward or a FOMO helmet from like some event that's only like a limited time. And even though I don't know if this one is necessarily FOMO, because I'm pretty sure they're going to be giving it to everybody, either way, it does have a lot of players feeling like they should be logging in, which is good for a game's longevity. But having a better cosmetic drop in a game like this is very important. I am really hoping that at some point we do get to see something more similar to Darktide, where they had the penance system that's they got completely overhauled. It had so many
Very
titles for
elaborate.
you to, an elaborate
Yeah.
cosmetic system for your penances and things like that is very good. And I think that having these things like True Level and these ways to show off your playtime in game through your customization is huge for any game. Like you see this in MMOs all the time, right? Like, you played World of Warcraft for a long time. The coolest mount, like I got this mount because I killed the Mule of the Vortex Beast in my my World of Warcraft, obviously not in that game, but the point is that having these really cool cosmetics that are tied to difficult events, or at least like reasonably difficult events, is really good. They've tried that in this game previously with things like the Survivor helmet and the other chapter, the other pauldron that you can get for the Tyranid Wave 15 on Hard Siege and stuff like that. And that's pretty good for the game. I would say that people got a little pissy about the Survivor helmet way back when, because they made lethal difficulty way easier after they turned off the lethal type formation, and there's a bunch of gatekeeping going on, which I think is like quite frankly just stupid, because like at some point, like this isn't that type of game, it's not like a World of Warcraft where you have to have like a tier 1 raid and stuff like that.
Right.
But I'm curious what your opinion is
I
on
will
that.
say, I will say that when it comes to tying cosmetics to harder difficulty, I'm fine with it, simply because I like skill expression in games, and I like getting rewarded for skill expression. And I know a lot of people look at it as, well, you're an elitist because you have more time to spend on the game, and so you're able to actually unlock these things. But the alternative, and this is what a lot of other games have embraced, is microtransactions. That's the alternative. If you can't simply earn a piece of gear and you have nothing to aspire to climb to, then the alternative is just buying it. And I don't think any of us want to see that at all in Space Marine 2. So I would say like I think that something like the lethal helmet is completely fine. And I'd actually like to see more absolute rewards get added to the game, especially since absolute is significantly harder now than it was last year.
That is true.
But also, one thing that I've been eyeing, so in year 2, we're going to have the Battle Barge expansion. One thing I would really like to see is a complete Battle Barge rework. It would be really cool if everybody's Battle Barges were different, if you could change the Space Marine chapters in your Battle Barge to fit what you want to see, if you could change your dropship, if you could have different trophies that you can put up, that would be amazing.
Yeah, do you
Because
think we
it
should
would
get
basically
a
allow you.
on the note of that, I believe like a trophy system is amazing for sure. Do you think there should be a training arena as well? On the note of that Battle Barge expansion.
Oh yeah, I mean that'd be freaking awesome. That way that you can actually test damage values without having to get a mod on PC.
Sure.
That'd be phenomenal.
But as far as like trophy rewards to go, I think it is good to like have like a showcase, like I killed this many. Like once you've killed enough Hive Tyrants, you can hang up like a Hive Tyrant trophy or something like that. And I think the
Yeah.
ordeal system currently, like these unlocks, like you can view the models, they look like shit. Like they don't look good at all, and I don't think it's very fun to like look at a black background with like one character model, and like that's kind of cool, I guess, to see the models in game. Many games have done this, but having like a more unique display of your rewards would be pretty nice, in my opinion. As far as skill expression in games goes to unlock your cosmetics, I feel like community sentiment across all of gaming has changed in the last 15 years about this, because way back when, to bring up Halo 3 and Halo Reach again, having an absurd grind for cosmetics was like the guarantee back then. Like to say you want the Hayabusa armor, you
Yep.
want the Recon
Yep.
helmet, you had to go through every single Vidmaster challenge, and that was ridiculous. That was harder than anything in this game. By far, it's harder than any cosmetic I could think of recently. Let's say fighting games did this for like to get the coolest unlock for like your Flash in Injustice Gods Among Us, that terrible game. You had to do all the Star Lab challenges at 3 stars, which was one of the hardest things in all, one of the most obnoxious things in all of gaming. So,
Well, this actually already exists in Warhammer 40k Darktide, where in order to unlock one of the coolest looking armor sets in the game, you have to play Havoc, which is the game's end game mode. It's basically the game's version of stratagems, specifically hard mode stratagems. And you have to grind a substantial amount in order to unlock, I believe it's the helmet, where you need to help 100 other players, or specifically do 100 different Havoc missions in order to unlock it. And for the pans, I believe it's reach Havoc level 25, etc., etc. So they kind of understand that people want these cosmetic or item chases in their games. Specifically, some people. I know that's not for everyone. But as FTG already said, this has been part of like cosmetics in general, and wanting more has always been part of the Warhammer 40k community. The entire reason why Space Marines don't just mimic what the Raptor chapter does, the Raptors, where they will change the color of their armor depending on what kind of environment they're in, because they're a very practical and pragmatic chapter. The reason why the Blood Angels are red and the Space Wolves are gray and yellow is to sell different models, because people are basically attracted to these different colored Space Marines.
I mean, it's how people pick their factions to begin with, in like most cases.
Yeah, it may sound vain and silly, but it's actually a really big part of Warhammer 40k. So I don't see how people would not be on board with, I guess, getting rid of like FOMO.
I definitely see a disconnect
in
the yeah, for sure. And I definitely see a disconnect between the player base here, who are like big 40k fans, and people just like the gameplay loop, where like I see comments all the time like, why are people so mad about like a little bit of a cosmetic change? I'm like, because it's 40k. Like that's why half of people are playing.
It's
like
important.
The customization of Space Marine 2 is like one of its biggest selling points for people, especially since a lot of people are not playing Space Marine 2 for a challenge. They're playing because they want to have like a hyper power fantasy. They don't even touch, like the majority of the player base is not playing on absolute difficulty. They're not playing on hard siege mode. They're not interested in soloing the game and stuff like that. They want to play with their coolest chapter with their friends and play for like 3 hours a day or like 2 hours a day day or whatever it may be, however much time they have, and plays their favorite chapter, and that's the whole thing of this game. And having some, more cosmetics for that is very good. I think, like you said before, there should be something for dedicated players. Like at some point, you do want to reward your most dedicated players for playing the game a ton, and there's definitely room in that for games. Obviously, you want to have like a middle ground for both players, but I do think that's a great point to bring up, and it's something I just want to talk about today in general. So, you have any closing thoughts on
Yeah.
this at all?
Well, I think just adding on to your point, these things can all exist in an equilibrium. There can be a balance between like, hey, so you are a huge Salamanders fan, and the best Salamanders cosmetics are just going to be available through the Salamanders pack that you have to buy, versus you're a huge Salamanders fan, but there's this helmet that you could earn by basically completing this challenge in the game.
It's a great
There's a
point.
great balance that can be struck there, but FOMO does not belong in that balance. I don't think that FOMO belongs in the balance at all. I think that community events are positive. Getting people to play the game and engage with certain activities is a very great thing, but just make those a shortcut, an avenue, a different avenue to earn these cosmetics rather than the only way to earn these cosmetics. I think that's where these things are much more limiting. And I think those are my closing thoughts.
I think that is a great closing statement. I definitely agree that like FOMO in the case of this, I don't think this new community event is too much of like FOMO or anything like that. And I think Twitch drops probably the biggest issue for this, but they have been trying
Mhm.
to address this at some point and put them in the acquisition store, obviously, or the acquisition store, accolade store. But obviously, they're not all there yet. But maybe we'll do that more, or they'll do it more quickly in the future. And anyways, guys, that's all we have to say in this one. If you like content like this, subscribe for more, and also subscribe to Jeficus's channel because he uploads a ton of great Darktide, Vermintide, and Space Marine 2 content. And he was kind enough
Yeah.
to come on and talk about this with me today. So take it easy, guys. That is all from me and Jeficus.